Hi everybody, we're going to spend at least one class session together talking about something that's not actually in the book, and that's all about social media. And I know that many of you have been lectured ad nauseum since 5th grade on how to behave online, and so I thought I would spin it. And instead of saying that this was going to be about, what not to do online, I'm going to make this 21 things we should be doing online, myself included, okay? And they're not in any particular order. So, number one, read terms of service. I know. They're long and horrible deliberately, so we don't read them. Look, the purple's Instagram, yellow Snapchat, dark blue is Twitter, dark blue is Facebook, light blue is Twitter, and the red is Reddit. This is what the terms of service look like if they get printed up. It's nuts. It's nuts. And have I read terms of service? Some. I've read a terms of service the biggest lie in the internet? Yes. So let's talk a little bit. Snapchat says you can't violate someone's privacy or copyright. They define privacy as taking anyone's photo without their knowledge. You cannot bully or intimidate. Notice that they do not define what it means to be bullied. I hate that word. I hate it. Can't add anything sexual, even as a joke, but the kicker is that we give Snapchat license to use our content for their marketing and advertising purposes. So the whole idea of the material, disappearing, of course it doesn't. They have it so that they can use it if they want to, and we have given them permission. And of course, there's all those, the Snap hacks apps that'll save a sender Snap without their knowledge. Twitter's terms of service, you have to be who you say you are unless it's a parody account. You can't talk about self-harm, but I love this. No abusive or harmful language on Twitter. If you took away the abusive and harmful language, there wouldn't be much left. In fact, the way I feel about Twitter, like the best thing about Twitter is that anything goes. The worst thing about Twitter, anything goes. And we'll talk about cancel culture and what you all think about that when we are together in class. Instagram, nothing sexy under 18. They do not define the word sexy, which I think is interesting because it's different for everyone. You have to have the copyright to any photo that you post. So if you see a photo or a meme or a cartoon that you like, you really can't share it on your account unless you are the creator of that. And you have to be 13. Hilarious. We also agree to never, ever, ever sue Instagram, and we agree that they can delete our account whenever we want. And remember, Instagram is owned by Facebook. Also, please don't fall for this BS. Just please don't. It will hurt me physically if you share stuff like this. Anyway, let's talk TikTok. If you're under 18, you can only use with consent of parent or guardian. Okay. They can disable your account anytime. You're not supposed to intimidate or harass another. Again, not defined. Any material that's deliberately designed to provoke, also not defined. And they have no obligation to review feedback. So you can provide feedback to them until the cows come home. Doesn't matter. And also, we grant them perpetual and unlimited use of whatever we post. So we give them the copyright to all of our material. So if you're really good at TikTok, save some of the stuff for yourself. Don't upload it all. Save yourself a copy. And make sure that you're familiar with shadow banning or ghost banning. What that means is that sometimes social media platforms will shadow ban you, meaning that you don't realize that you've been shadow banned, but nobody can see your stuff. Like you're still posting, but your stuff's not showing up in anybody's timeline. So make sure that you're familiar with that term. Also, do know about the laws. And, these girls are not 18, and they're trying to be sexy to get the likes or whatever. Oh, hashtag 40 likes, please. So thirsty. But, by definition, they have posted child pornography because it's a sexually related photo and they're under 18. I'm not saying that they meant to do it, but in Missouri, that's a Class D misdemeanor. It's a felony. So you have to be careful. Also, make sure you understand libel. If you lie about anyone and it damages their reputation and it's false, they can put a libel or defamation case against you. as long as whatever you say is true, you should be fine. But be very, very careful. And if you think that you can do this kind of stuff in an anonymous, with an anonymous username, your ISP will cough you up the minute they get a subpoena from the government. So just be smart. Number 3, do realize that some people will always assume the worst. I'm going to move my head. So I have a friend who saw this picture, and he was like, oh my gosh, those kids, they should be talking to each other. Blah, blah, blah. And it turns out they were having a conversation with Google Translate because neither one of them spoke their language. So I think there are a lot of parts of the internet that get a bad rap. And I guess the internet as a whole is just, or social media as a whole, is a lot like Twitter, right? Or a tool. It depends on how you use it. If it wasn't for social media, I would have never seen this because I love this so much. Or this meme is one of my favorites. And if it wasn't for the internet and social media, I would not have the amazing Baby Yoda meme collection that I have. If you want to see it, let me know. It's on a Google Doc. I am obsessed with Baby Yoda. Obsessed. All right. Make sure that you recognize FOMO and compare and despair and how to cope with that when it happens to you. Not if it happens to you, but when. And I can tell you, even as an old lady, it's very easy to feel FOMO or left out when you see people all at a location that you were not invited to, that type of thing. Remember that Instagram is never quite like real life. Number 5, do connect with experts. I'm going to tell you in class that you should be on Twitter. You should have a professional photo. You should be connecting with experts in the field that you want to work in. Find the people that have the job you want, follow them on Twitter, and follow who they follow. Follow those hashtags. So there's the Marketing Association, Screenwriters Association, Computer Science, Graphic Design. This is a student 2 years ago. She said, can you come and tell me about Twitter? She was an animation student. And I said, sure. So I put this up, and within about 10 minutes, we had 74 likes, and look at the 76 comments welcoming her to Twitter, including a woman from Africa who had her class sing a song to her. Like, how cool is that? So she followed her favorite animator. I can't remember what his name was, but she came running in to my office the next day to say that he had followed her back. Okay. Connect with people on these sites. And if you need to set up an additional Twitter account other than like the one from high school where you tracked the parties or whatever, do it. Make sure you have a professional address, a professional presence on Twitter. Yeah, so here's the deal. Like if you're a photographer, you should have an Instagram account just for your photography. If you are a musician or a singer, you should be on YouNow or YouTube. If you're an athlete, you should have a website that has a link to a YouTube channel that has all of your like greatest hits or your like a highlight reel for yourself. Same thing if you're a dancer. You should have a website that talks about all your choreography with links to videos of any recitals that you've done. And, oh, it's not coming up, but especially if you're a gamer. If you are a serious gamer, be on Twitch, be on YouTube, make sure that people know that you're really good at stuff. So I want you to promote your skills. This is not the time to be shy. All right, so let's talk about Stephen Works, my former student, super shy. Maybe you've seen him around. One time he let slip that he had been flown to London to speak at a conference by EA Games. And I was like, what? You know, he was 19. Well, he developed, he's an expert in The Sims. So he's got a gazillion YouTube followers. He posts content every day. And then he went to some conference in Germany. Like, EA Games is paying him to speak places because he's so good at The Sims. Okay? So if you're really good at something, get out there. Promote it. Also, I really do not know where to put my head. I'm going to just put it down there. Get a decent photo. These are all bad. You know, the bathroom selfie is so 10 years ago. We don't know which one Whitney is. That's her LinkedIn profile. And this is a guy whose picture is too color saturated and the background is really busy. What you want to do is you want to have pictures that, yeah, it's not good. Not good. You want to have pictures with a nice, clean, white background. Okay. You want to have someone take it for you. Don't take a selfie. This was my son's Twitter profile picture for a couple of years. And then he got an interview with Microsoft and he changed his profile picture. Make it a good one. All right? Make it a good one. Know what the research says. Know that there's been research that connects depression with internet use. The more time you spend on social media, the more likely you are to be depressed. Now, that could also mean the more depressed you are, the more time you spend on social media. But you want to make sure that you're familiar with the research. Here's one that says excessive social media use could harm female self-esteem. I don't know why they needed to do research about that. That's a no-brainer. I feel like crap every time I get on Pinterest. Nobody lives like that. But the biggest issue that I don't think anybody's talking about is sleep. Get sleep. Get sleep. I think that that's one of the biggest issues with social media platforms is not the FOMO, not the anxiety, not the body image. It's the fact that we're not sleeping enough. And if you don't sleep, it ruins everything. So get your sleep. Yes, I'm being full mom right now. Get your sleep. So what's interesting is that some of these sites are now providing like help. So if Snapchat notices that you are talking a lot about depression or suicide, they come up with a little help for you thing. Pinterest has started doing this too, that if they notice that you've been pinning certain things, they will send you a little link to wellness or stress. Same with Instagram. And these are all like in beta, so it's not on everybody's phone yet. And I think it's lip service, so that Instagram can say, well, we provide these resources for our users when, Number 8, understand how apps are designed. They need to be sticky. What that means is that the longer that you stay on the app, the more the app makes money. So they never, ever want you to get off. The greatest sticky invention ever was the Snapchat streak. Oh my gosh. They absolutely figured out a way to get high schoolers and middle schoolers to check Snapchat every single day. Genius. Genius. And of course, in the gaming class, we talked about how they designed FORTNITE specifically to be addictive with the lose by a little idea and the interest curve. How every level is a little bit different. Number 9, understand who's making money. Understand that if you are using a social media site or a website for free, you are not the customer. You are the product being sold. These 5 companies basically control public discourse in the United States. The reason that Amazon is on there is because of their web hosting service. A lot of websites are hosted through Amazon. But if there's an issue that these 5 companies don't want you to know about, you won't know. And it's important just to recognize the power that these platforms have in censorship and narrative. I love this. Just created Facebook under an assumed name with 0 info. And it's like, oh, you might know these people, and shows his whole family. Of course. So you have to understand the money, right? TikTok, as of right now, it's August 2020, is in talks to be purchased by Microsoft. But Microsoft also owns GroupMe. Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp. If you're not familiar with WhatsApp, it's probably because you're American. Every other person on the planet uses WhatsApp. Of course, Google owns YouTube. Snap Inc. owns Snapchat. And Reddit is owned by the Condé Nast magazine family. And Amazon owns Imgur. Oh, and Twitter owns House Party. Okay. And Yahoo owns Tumblr. It's all a machine. And you have to understand the role that you play in the economic structure of it all. Number 10, understand who has all this power. So here's Facebook's board of directors, Apple's board of directors, the 2 guys that own Snap. What do you notice? They all look like white guys. It's important to know these things. There's a couple women on there, but I don't see any color. Just white. Also, 11, recognize scams, fakes, and catfishing. Obviously, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about ways to validate online information, but this is my expression most of the time because people are so inept at doing this. Even though I'm old, I get people sliding into my DMs occasionally. And this was one guy who was telling me how famous he was and his wife had left him. And blah, blah, blah. He was what did it say? I was given birth in Florida. I'm like, okay, that's the first clue. You can usually tell when it's a bot. And I was being kind of snotty. And I lied and said my name was Lisa, I'm from Nashville, blah, 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 blah. And I ended up saying, I'm just trying to get examples from my media literacy class about how fake accounts can chat. And the algorithm responded, oh, I'm trying to let people know about that also. Make sure you understand, especially on Twitter, if you get a follower that's just a name with 7 or 8 numbers following the name, it's a bot. Like, don't even bother. I loved this. This is Austin Jake. He loves to gym. He followed me, and so many clues here. The grammar, USA Army, we don't call it that. People in other countries have trouble with capitalization and our verb infinitives. And honestly, like my son said, if those were his abs, he'd have more than 3 photos. Yeah. It's also super easy to create fakes. This is just made with a site called breakyourownnews.com. And this brings me to Flood Shark. Anytime that there is a hurricane or a flood, this picture gets tweeted and somehow someone thinks that it's legit, but this is actually what Flood Shark looks like if you enhance the image. It's so easy to make fake tweets. So easy. I mean, I did that in 10 seconds. One of my students did this in 10 seconds. Okay? And think, if you put this on a social media platform, especially Facebook, I'm thinking, because of middle-aged women, this would travel. This would travel. Do you know how to block, mute, and ghost? You probably do, but you want to make sure that you know how. 13, Google reverse image search is the greatest tool you'll ever use. You should do it to double check photos that are framed as news, but may be recycled. You should also do it to double check anyone that you're chatting with online that you haven't met in person. Use a Google reverse image search to check their profile picture. See if you can make sure that they are who they say they are. But I would also suggest doing this with some of your Instagram photos to make sure that no one's using your photos without your permission. Learn to self-track. Set up a Google alert for your name. If you have a really plain name like I do, you're going to want to add some qualifiers. So like I wrote a book once called Master the Media. So I have a Google alert set up. Anytime something comes up about my book, I get an email from Google. Set up a Google alert for your name. Strong passwords. Oh, so important. So boring, but so important. I know that you know how to Google yourself. You also want to WebMii yourself, WEBMII. Make sure that what the internet knows about you is accurate. You'll be surprised. Pause before you post. I'm never going to tell you not to post something, but I am going to beg you to take 1 or 2 seconds beforehand and think, could this be taken the wrong way? Like this girl. She is famous as the Auschwitz selfie girl. We're going to talk about her in class. Have some coping skills. You're going to see some stuff that you're not prepared for. You want to know how to cope for that. I was not prepared for this. I was tweeted by ISIS. A couple years ago, they sent me a photo of one of their captives that they had decapitated, and it was a photo of his body with his head resting on his back. I was not prepared. So make sure that you have some coping skills in your pocket for when you come across something that really rattles you. Beware of deep fakes. And this is a shallow fake. When they did this with Nancy Pelosi, you just slow down the video, slow down the audio so it sounds like she's hammered. Okay. Shallow fakes are pretty easy to spot. Deep fakes, not so much. Make sure that you recognize a deep fake. You want to look for blurriness around the neck, awkward timing, awkward blinking, and especially if they're just saying something that doesn't even sound right. Look at what technology can do now. This is Samsung's new technology that they can make an actual image come to life. This fascinates me, but it also kind of creeps me out. Number 20, use it for good. If you have a cause that you are really, really, really into, spread it. Use all of these social media platforms to spread your passion about what's important to you. And number 21, recognize your power. I love this so hard. Okay, Gwyneth Paltrow posts this on Instagram, okay, with her daughter, Apple, and under the comments, Apple ski love. Her daughter responds, Mom, we have discussed this. You may not post anything without my consent. I love it. Apple just pwned her mom. Like, who's the better digital citizen here? Is it Gwyneth Paltrow or her daughter? It's her daughter. So recognize the power that you have. I mean, think of it. You have been lectured about digital citizenship for years. Your parents haven't. Your grandparents haven't. You have to teach them how to do all this. All right, so, ta-da! 21 things you should do online. Ha ha ha. All right, see you in class.